County Park Authority Board meeting. I am Bill Bowie, and I'd like to call the June 24th, 2020 Park Authority Board meeting to order. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, the Park Authority Board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record, as we did at our first electronic meeting. During our first meeting, if you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand. And when I recognize you, please state your name. This will ensure that you are recognized and the public knows who is speaking. If you intend to vote nay or abstain on any item, we will need to do a roll call on those votes. Because each member of this board is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to please state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each one of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member's voice, and we will go alphabetically. Dr. Adu.
Abene Adu from my residence in Lee District.
Dr. Carter.
Cynthia Jacobs Carter from my residence in Lee District.
Maggie Godbold.
Maggie Godbold, coming in from my residence in the Sully District.
Linwood Gorham.
Linwood Gorham, participating from my residence in the Mount Vernon District.
Tim Hackman.
Tim Hackman, attending from my residence district.
Ron Kendall.
Ron Kendall, participating from my home in Mason District.
Faisal Khan.
Faisal Khan, participating from my residence in Providence District.
Ken Quincy.
Ken Quincy, participating from my residence in the Providence District.
Kyle Stone.
Kyle Stone, participating from my residence in the Braddock District.
Mike Thompson.
Mike Thompson, participating from my residence in the Springfield District.
And Jim Zook. You got to unmute yourself, Jim. There you go.
Look, from my residence in Springfield District.
Okay. And I'm Bill Bowie, and I'm at my residence in the Hunter Mill District. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Vice Chairman Quincy so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other board member of this board.
Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Thompson, I second the motion.
Quincy, moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
This is Bill Bowie. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged the public access for this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting, and that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that this board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video conference line. It is so moved.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Tim Hackman, second.
Motion has been seconded. This is Ken Quincy. Is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Finally, it is next required that all members addressed on today's agenda must address the state of emergency itself or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations in the discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Mr. Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Mike Thompson, I second the motion.
Motion has been seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Mr. Chairman, that motion carries.
Thank you. This is Bill Bowie. So we can get on with the meeting. The preliminary matters are complete, but before we started, I wanted to do a shout out to Elaine Tholen, who's our park school board member. That's our liaison. She was voted in the November 19 election. We're looking forward to working with her, and I just wanted Tim to say a few things before we get started about Elaine and working with her.
Tim Hackman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted that Elaine Tolan, the Drainsville member of the Fairfax County School Board, is going to be the liaison to the Park Authority. She is a career educator and has a true love for children. She's an innovator, an outdoor enthusiast, an environmentalist, a founder of Nova Outside, and a former director of the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. So she brings a lot of skills to this liaison role. We are truly honored to have such a dedicated and qualified individual who's going to be working with us to take our collaboration with the Fairfax County School Board to the next level. So we appreciate her listening in. We anticipate that this collaboration is going to be bring even more benefits to all residents of Fairfax County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Tim. All those in favor say, I know, I'm just teasing. All right, admin items. Admin item number 1 is the adoption of the minutes of the May 27th, 2020 Park Authority Board meeting.
This is Mike Thompson. I second the motion.
Bill Bowie, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Action item number 1, the Fairfax County Park Foundation FY 2021 fundraising projects.
Hey, Don, can you give me share?
Is Bobby there?
Yes, this is Bobby Longworth, Executive Director of the Fairfax County Park Foundation, and I am here to address any questions if there are any.
Thank you. This is Bill Bowie. Are there any discussions of anything relating to the Park Foundation FY 2021 fundraising projects? Okay. Seeing that there's none. Cynthia?
This is Cynthia Jacobs Carter. I move that I second. It says here I second the motion. Someone was supposed to move, so I can second.
Okay, I move that the Park Authority accept the FY 2021 fundraising projects from the Fairfax County Park Foundation.
Cynthia Jacobs Carter. I second that motion.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hunter Mill District, A2, Frying Pan Farm Park, Masson Brook Volunteer Matching Fund Grant Program request from the Friends of Frying Pan Park.
Mr. Bowie, this is Kirk Kincannon, the chair, the director, sorry, of the Fairfax County Park Authority. I would like to introduce Kurt Lewis, who is our new Park Operations Division Director. So congratulations to Mr. Lewis. Kurt joined the Park Authority on June 8th as the new Park Operations Division Director and brings a wealth of experience in park operations, having spent over 30 years working his way up through the ranks in Arlington County. You know, Kurt will be a great addition to our leadership team and to our efforts on the Park Authority to keep the public in great parks. Kurt?
This is Kurt Lewis. Thanks for the nice warm welcome and a virtual hello to everybody. And thank you. And I do look forward to working with the Park Authority. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kurt.
And now I'd like to introduce either Sarah or Julie, depending on who's working with us on technology.
It's Sarah's turn.
It's Sarah. Hello, this is Sarah Baldwin, Deputy Director of our Operations for the Park Authority. This evening, Julie Tahan and I will walk you through the items related to park operations, which are 2 Masson Brook grants, as well as a request for additional funding for the Masson Brook program. You met Julie a couple of months ago. Julie is overseeing the administration of the Masson Brook grant program and will present the Frying Pan Farm Park Friends Group requests for funding. Julie? And Hannah, if you could pull up the presentation, please. Thank you. Julie, are you there? Or would you like me to take it away? I think you're muted right now. All right, I'm going to run through this one. So this is our first request this evening. You all are very familiar with our great partners, the Friends of Frying Pan Farm Park. Next slide, please. 2 slides ahead, actually, Hannah. So the Friends of Frying Pan Farm Park have requested a Masson Brook grant to improve, to replace about 2,000 linear feet of fencing that's in poor condition throughout the park. Additionally, they have requested funding for a shade structure for the animals at the park. Going back to the previous slide, Hannah. The fencing cost is $20,000. The shade structure is $19,000. Additionally, there'll be some paving. You may be familiar with the park and where the playground and carousel are. The paving will happen in that parking lot over there. The total project cost is about $49,000. And the Friends of Frying Pan are requesting a grant of $20,000. Any questions?
Bill Boo, this is great.
The Friends have been great partners of the Park Authority for many years, so we're lucky to have them continue to support Frying Pan, especially now. So
We've had plenty of COVID babies in the meantime. Plenty of animals being born at the farm during this time. So if you're not on the mailing list for the birth announcements, you need to be.
Yes, the farm never sleeps. The farm never closes. So there's always activity happening there. So it's fun to post everything on social media about the new animals that are born, and the Friends of Frying Pan are really responsible for making sure that we have those animals and to ensure that we can take care of them. So we appreciate all their support.
And they own all the animals, which is kind of cool too. So, all right. If there's no more discussion.
This is Linwood Gorham. I'd like to make a motion to approve this $20,000 for this matching Masson Brook grant.
This is Mike Thompson, and I second the motion.
Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. In the Drainsville District, A3 is the Turner Farm Park Masson Brook Volunteer Matching Fund Grant Program requests for the Analemma Society.
Hannah, could you pull up the presentation, please? So our next matching grant request is from another great partner, the Analemma Society, who has supported our work at Turner Farm Park and the observatory there. Next slide, please. Their most recent request is for funding for an adjustable height telescope pier for the observatory. Anyone that's visited the observatory knows it's a very unique facility within our system, visited by thousands of people every year to participate in the programming that is offered by the Analemma Society. So the telescope would help facilitate the programming that they have for the residents and visitors of Fairfax County. Next slide, please. This is a very small grant request. So the pier and plate are approximately $1,700. And then there's additional costs for labor in installation and testing of the telescope pier for a total project cost of about $3,400. Next slide, please. So the proposed funding sources would be $1,700 from the Massachusetts Grant Program, and then $1,700 from in-kind support from the Analemma Society, who will assist with the installation, training, and testing of the new pier for a total project cost of $3,400. Thank you. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the location of the observatory, when you pull into the parking lot of the park, the observatory is on your left-hand side, and the telescope pier would be installed within that building. Next slide. And I believe that's it for my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Tim Hackman. Thank you, Sarah. I am honored to move the approval of the Massachusetts Volunteer Matching Fund Grant Program request from the Analemma Society at Turner Farm Park in the amount of $1,700 to help fund the acquisition of an adjustable height pier for one of the observatory's telescopes.
This is Faisal Khan. I second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I second.
You seconded too, Linwood. Okay, I got you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. In countywide, A4 is the reallocation of funds for the continuation of Maston Brook Volunteer Matching Fund Grant Program.
Hannah, could you pull up the presentation, please? So Sarah Baldwin, the last two projects were great examples of the diversity of projects accomplished through the Maston Brook Grant Program. I'm here tonight to request a reallocation of funding so we can continue these projects over the next year and a half. Next slide, please. In the 2016 bond, we allocated $400,000 towards the Maston Brook Grant Program. As you all are well aware, we updated some of the criteria in the grant, increased the match to $20,000, and we've seen an increase in the number of grants that have come through the past couple of years. Now that we've approved the last two grants that were presented to you, we only have about $21,000 available in the Maston Brook Grant Program. As you all know, the grant program is funded through the park bond. Next slide, please. This evening, we're recommending a reallocation of $150,000 of bond premium to cover the grants for the next 12 to 18 months. Fingers crossed, the 2020 park bond passes, and when that bond passes, we will have a funding for the following 4 years. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an idea of the grants that have been awarded over the years, the number of grants, the total cost of the project, and our investment in them. On average, we're awarding about 9 grants per year. And I think one of the most astonishing parts of this program is over the 20 years that we've been implementing the Madison Brook Grant Program. The total project costs are about 12.5 million, and we've invested about 1.8. So I'm not a finance person, I'm a parks person, but I know that's a great return on investment. So we believe we should continue to fund this program because of the diversity of projects that are being funded by the community. Next slide, please. This gives you an example of the grant awards for 2020. And then, as you can see, we're funding everything from shelters to ball field lightings, to new ball field renovations. So over the course of the Madison Brook program for the last 20 plus years, we've funded just about every type of facility or amenity, or a piece of that facility or amenity within the park system. Next slide, please. After one of our previous presentations about the Madison Brook program, we increased our outreach related to Madison Brook, so more communities could become aware of the program, and have seen, as I mentioned before, an increase in the number of applications. This is just one example of rack cards that we have at the Board of Supervisors offices for people that may want to come in and have questions about parks. Additionally, we know word of mouth is the greatest way for people to learn about the program, and staff throughout the system, as well as many of our community partners, share the information about the Madison Brook program. And next slide, please. Any questions?
I think it's a great, this is Bill Bowie. I think it's a great program, and it's a tribute to the board and the staff that were able to spend so much of this money. We increased the contribution, and it has paid off. Like Sarah said, I'm not a math expert either, but it's paid off, at least tenfold, if not more. So hopefully we'll continue to do this. It's like I said, it's a great program that all of us have been able to take part in with various community organizations over the last number of years. So great job to staff, and congratulations to the board for supporting this. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Tim Hackman. I just want to comment. I think this is echoing your remarks. I think this is a terrific program, but I also wanted to point out that even if your organization's project does not fit within the scope of the Madison Brook guidelines, don't say no to them or don't discourage them. There may be other opportunities for doing a one-off partnership with an organization for a big project. We are set to hopefully approve later on in this meeting a joint project with McLean Youth Soccer for the Holiday Field synthetic turf. So come and talk to us, have them come and talk to us. We hopefully will be able to find ways to work together for our mutual benefit.
Thanks, Tim. Any other comments?
Okay. This is Linwood Gorham. I move the approval of reallocation of funds in the amount of $150,000 from bond premium for continuation of the Madison Brook Volunteer Matching Fund Grant Program.
This is Mike Thompson, and I second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. A5 in the Providence District, scope approval for the Heartland Green Park development. Mr. Quincy, you have to unmute yourself. You're on.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm still Ken Quincy. This is in the Merrifield area, which facilities. So any additional park is a plus. So I move approval of the project scope to develop park facilities at Heartland Green Park.
I second the
This is
motion.
Mike Thompson. This is Mike Thompson. I second the motion.
Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. In the Drainsville District, A6 is the scope approval of the Holiday Field Rectangular Athletic Field, synthetic turf installation, including approval of the contribution and use agreement.
This is Tim Hackman. I move approval of the project scope to design, permit, and install synthetic turf and related work at Holiday Field, rectangular athletic field, and of the contribution and use agreement.
This is Mike Thompson. I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, information items. These are information items only that we've gone through. County-wide information item number 1 is the Fairfax County Park Foundation FY 2021 meeting dates. And county-wide information item number 2 is the 2020 park bond process. We're moving on to the final runway here. Countywide, the discussion, Planning and Development Division annual work plan schedule for FY 2021. Dave?
This is Dave Bowden, Director of Planning and Development. The draft FY 2021 work plan reflects the continuation of active projects with schedules that extend into FY 2021 and beyond, and well as projects that are scheduled to start in FY 2021, as included in our 5-year CIP. The work plan separates the projects into the following categories you see listed there. Just a point of reference, Mike Thompson and I had a good conversation about an hour ago. When you look in the actual work plan, under each of the categories, you will see a different color at the top of each of the page heading. And for instance, the planning projects are purple. The projects funded via proffers, et cetera, are orange. 2008 bond are maroon. In addition, we've added a new section this year on asset management that got transferred to Planning and Development Division that basically lists the projects to come online with our new asset management system. You do have the proposed draft Planning and Development work plan as part of your item, so you can review that at your leisure. Projects highlighted in yellow are new to the work plan and are scheduled to start this next fiscal year. Again, we will continue to report actual project progress compared with the scheduled dates on the work plan on a quarterly basis to the board. I'm not going to go through. You can read the highlights of what's in the plan at your leisure. Any projects funded as September 2020 as part of the county's budget carryover process for things such as infrastructure replacement or energy efficient related projects will be added to the work plan via the quarterly status report as funding becomes available. We have completed 2 design projects that required additional construction as we discussed last year as part of the 2020 park bond. That would be the second sheet of ice at Mount Vernon Rec Center and the Diamond Field Athletic Complex at Patriot Park North. We anticipate that those projects will be fully funded in the 2020 bond this fall. So you also see one sheet there in the work plan for those projects that we expect to bid early next year and start construction in the spring of 2021. We've seen building construction costs continue to rise throughout 2019 and 2020. We're anticipating escalation between 15 and 20% on the $20 million we have set aside for the Mount Vernon Rec Center expansion renovation project, which we're estimating maybe a shortfall of up to $4 million. At this point, staff would recommend we had existing funding for the Laurel Hill Sportsplex that never came off. That's $1,940,000, and looking at future bond premium of a little over $2 million there to make up that $4 million anticipated shortfall. Obviously, if we don't need that money, it will be available for other projects. We're also anticipating an approximate $180,000 shortfall for the Riverbend Park Maintenance Building project, We've had two RMD projects, actually an RMD project and the Clemming Park project that have finished with funding still available. So I would recommend that we, as listed there, that we reallocate those funds for the Riverbend Park Maintenance Facility. And in addition, we have bought several properties over the last years that still had residential properties that don't qualify for the resident curator program, such as Bryn Mawr Park in the Mason District, the existing house at Riverbend, and a few of the properties out in Sully Woodlands Park. Staff is recommending that we allocate about $500,000 from future bond premium so we could start demolishing those residential buildings that aren't required for park functions. We'll continue to be engaged in land acquisition, long-range planning, and master planning throughout FY 2021. And once I receive any board feedback through the month of June here and early July, we will return to the board in July 2020 with the final recommended work plan. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions? Dave, a magnificent job as always. Again, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Linwood, I didn't see that big smile on your face about that second sheet of ice. I see Mike Thompson, he's glowing because of the Patriot Park thing, but there you go. I like that, Linwood. That's great. Good deal. Again, thanks a lot, Dave.
You're very welcome.
All right. So time to wrap up. We've done really well with the virtual meetings. Congratulations to the board and to the staff. We were approved on Tuesday for a $112 million bond to be put on the ballot this year, of which $100 million will come to us and $12 million will go to Nova Parks. So we'll be working with Judy and the folks to start to energize and put together the green team and get that set up. It's probably going to look a little bit different as we continue to learn, how do we do virtual meetings with various, associations and homeowners groups and things like that to get the word out to vote. And the athletic concerns, of course, will be a big part of the support that we garner with this. So that's a big thing. So kudos to everybody on the board and on the staff for putting that together and getting us through that, because this was not an easy year to do it. And the board unanimously approved it with no questions whatsoever. So that's a testament to the great work that all you folks do. Couple other things that are coming up. We're in crazy times, of course, and the BOS is very active in looking at a number of different initiatives. One of the things that they are looking at and considering is the banning of all guns, period, in county buildings. And they are also talking about extending that to parks and all park grounds. So stay tuned for more on that as the BOS moves it forward and works through all the legislative gates that they need to go through to approve such a thing and communicate with us. The second thing that they're looking at is something we've been working on for the last 3-4 years, is the naming of Confederate parks, statues, monuments, not only within parks, but across the entire county. So they have started that. We're going to present them with the information that we got a couple of years ago in terms of all of our parks that may fall into that category, and pass that on to County Executive Hill and to Walter Alcorn and Dahlia Palchek, who are leading the efforts in this regard. I don't think it's something that's going to sit around for a really long time. So stay tuned in the next couple of meetings to hear more about that. And with that, I am going to go ahead, Linwood.
Just wanted to say that outside of the categories I think we've talked about in renaming the parks and stuff like that, this might be an appropriate time to change the name of, I think it's Ox Hill Battlefield Park to Battle of Chantilly Battlefield Park in favor of the side that won.
There's going to be a number of discussions around that. I've been approached by a number of board members with various ideas about other locations that other names may be more appropriate. And so I know that everybody on this board has been very, very sensitive to that. And with that, I am at this point suspending the committee that was studying the situation at Ox Hill, and we'll dissolve that probably in August after we get clear direction from the Board of Supervisors on where they go. So, other than that, I hope, Linwood.
I'm sorry, did I understand you to say you're dissolving the committee?
I'm suspending it at this point right now until further notice.
Okay. I just didn't hear you good. I apologize.
That's okay, no problem. So with that, I hope all of you stay safe, stay healthy.
Wait, you had one more, at least one person.
Cynthia. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Hear you now.
Okay, I wanted to remind everyone that Friday is the new deadline for the submission of nominations for the L.A. Doyle Awards. And the email went out yesterday, but if you still need information on how to make that submission, please shoot either me or Judy an email message, please. Thank you.
All right, Ron.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to put on the record that we had talked over the last couple of years about a park ranger style of program that we could put back in place so that we would have some enforcement capacity in the parks. And I think the things that we've experienced with the usage that has gone above and beyond what's acceptable in the parks over the last couple of months shows us that it would be beneficial for us to consider putting a park ranger program in place. And I do not know where it is right now. I know it's something we'd like to do. Financially, I'm not sure it's available, but I think we ought to have a discussion about that based on our need to have an enforcement capacity for the rules of the park within the park authority itself.
I think that those discussions, this is Bill Bowie, I think those discussions are ongoing with Kirk and the executive team with the folks across the street. I think a number of people have noticed that. A couple of districts specifically where it's been really, really effective, and that, Drainsville, of course, and Springfield with Burke Lake, among others that have been just totally overrun, South Run, Lake Fairfax, that have been totally overrun during this time. And you're absolutely correct. I don't know how we do it without dollars, but that's the magic of Mr. Kincannon and waving his wand and hoping that we can affect some change across the street. So it's too late for 2021, but it's certainly worth putting that in the conversation for 2022. Yeah, Kirk?
Mr. Chairman, this is Kirk Kincannon. Thank you for that nod, and it's really the staff that does all the work, that comes up with those great ideas. We have about $150,000 in our current budget that was put in there by the Board of Supervisors a couple of years ago. We have been in conversations with PD Chief Ed Rossler about the needs in particular related to Burke, Scotts Run, Lake Fairfax this year, and we have been pressing the issue, Ron, just to make sure that everybody's aware that this is the direction we'd like to go relative to park ranger, and either getting some sort of dedicated park unit in the PD and police department, or we go the direction of some sort of park ranger unit, at least initially trying to get some level of higher enforcement out there, or even just awareness relative to folks who can give a presence in the park system. So that's an ongoing discussion internally for the director's office with our staff. And as Chairman Bowie indicated, we have had that conversation with the county executive and others across the street. We continue that conversation. So appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Linwood.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for getting me home in the daylight tonight.
Okay. That's a good deal. All right. Thanks, everybody. Cynthia, you're on mute again. There you go.
Thank you. So I wanted to thank everyone for their service on the Ox Hill committee. You had appointed me to chair that committee, so I thank everyone for their service over the past year and a half or so on that committee. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a happy 4th of July, and we will see you soon. And with that, we are adjourned. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.